Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Sergeant John Perrine, the Public Information Officer for the Indiana State Police Indianapolis District. The Roadshow is brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary of the State Police Alliance. For more information about our sponsor, visit www.indianasfinest.com. We want to thank MS Communication Network Indiana for getting us on the radio across Indiana each and every week. We certainly appreciate our partnership with them and allowing us to use the studio. If you're watching us on the YouTube channels, thanks to Tom Trial. A lot of work put into the content that you see on the YouTube channel. Scroll through all the historic road shows. Should be your first couple hundred things you watch, but after that, there's a lot of other cool things on there you can watch. And so we certainly appreciate you tuning in to the road show on the YouTube channel. My guest today is Senior Trooper Nick Klinghammer. Nick, thanks for coming in.
Not a problem. Thank you, Sergeant.
And so what, 12 years on, 13?
It'll be 15 in August. So we'll be making the transition from...
I've lost my time because I've known you since you were a rookie.
Yes.
And that wasn't very long ago, it seems like.
No, it flies by.
Yeah.
It flies by when you're having fun.
So Nick is in a unique position and has patrolled Hamilton County for a long time. And... you have taken part of an opportunity to join the Hamilton County Traffic Safety Partnership, something you've been a part of for a very, very, I don't know, probably 10 years or more, right?
Yeah, if that, yeah.
And so what I wanted to do is talk about kind of what is a traffic safety partnership. We can speak specifically about the one in Hamilton County, but I know there are some across the state.
There are multiple ones. So the Hamilton County Traffic Partnership specifically, it's a multi-agency group consisting of the major law enforcement agencies in Hamilton County, the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department, Westville Police Department, Noblesville Police Department, Carmel Police Department, and the Fishers Police Department. So every month, let me back up, every year we apply for grants for traffic safety enforcement, dealing specifically with OWI overtime projects. We also deal with the Click It to Live It ticket grant project, and we take those grant monies and then we divide them up through the agencies that participate in the traffic partnership, and that pays for overtime for the officers and the deputies and the troopers to enforce whatever particular project we're looking to enforce during the course of the year.
Yeah, and oftentimes that's seatbelt enforcement or, like you said, DUI enforcement, DUI checkpoints, which is all very, very valuable to our community because what we do or what you do, and as we look at the data, we look at the crash statistics, and we decide what can we do to prevent the next one.
Absolutely.
How can we prevent that next fatal crash?
So I'll start off with the DUI checkpoints, the OWI checkpoints first. So at the beginning of the year, we sit down and we get together with the prosecutor's office of Hamilton County, and we analyze all the arrest locations and the crash locations that involved either alcohol or drugs or other types of impairment. And then based on those results, we take the most focused areas of Hamilton County, and that's where we try to schedule our OWA checkpoints that we have throughout the year. We try to schedule at least 4. Sometimes we get 5 in. Again, they're dependent on manpower and the weather.
You know, and sometimes people have different feelings and ideas about what OWI checkpoints are, and the way we measure success of an OWI checkpoint isn't how many DUIs we intercept. It's almost the opposite. It's how many we don't get. If we have a night where we don't get any, we say, hey, that's good.
Yeah, mission accomplished. Because we're getting the word out, because the checkpoints are advertised ahead of time through the local media and so forth. And it's not mentioning if you're in the car that's behind, or you're behind a car that gets pulled into the checkpoint, and you're like, hey, they're actually doing out there. You know, they're talking about, we always hear about it on the news. We always hear about it on the radio. Oh, they're doing checkpoints, but you never actually see one. And then when they see that, as they're going to an event, maybe a concert or a wedding or a banquet or a reception or something like that, they think about that. Hey, I remember that checkpoint. They may be out there again on the way home. Maybe I want to limit my consumption of alcohol. Maybe I want to use that Uber or the other drive apps that are out there. Yeah,
and so again, the goal isn't to, and this is kind of a slippery slope, but the goal isn't to go out and arrest as many DUIs as we can. We will. Our goal is to intercept those folks that make that decision.
Correct.
What we do with advertising and utilizing this funding and these efforts and these strategies is so people say, I'm going to make a better choice. I don't want to go to jail tonight.
Exactly. And that's why and even the hours of the checkpoint, we say, we'll use a concert that's up at
Deer Creek,
Clips, Ruoff, whatever they're calling it this year. It's always changing.
Yeah.
And we try to schedule some of those even before the concert starts. So people will see that going into the concert. So they're aware. They make that conscientious effort. Okay, now, and that is a success. That is a mission accomplished, because now we've got that mindset changed. Hey, I better not have that extra beer. I may not have that extra glass of wine.
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for. It's that compliance, that they're doing it before and on their own, before it comes into our hands.
And the options are so limitless when it comes to a safe way home.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, we live in a world now with your phone, you can have a ride almost anywhere within 15 minutes.
Absolutely. I mean, there's the rideshare apps, and there are the traditional taxis. They're your friends. There's your family.
Right.
I mean, there's no reason for anybody to really get behind the wheel of impaired and drive with the options that we have today.
The best thing, though, is plan a designated driver.
Mm-hmm.
And allow that person the opportunity to stay sober.
Sure,
You know,
absolutely.
oftentimes somebody chooses not to drink, and then they get kind of peer pressured into,
Right.
I'll just have one.
Right.
If you are the designated driver, it is your responsibility to keep those folks safe until they get home.
Absolutely. That's the role that. So we schedule those, and they're throughout the Hamilton County area. It could be in the county, it could be in a city. You just never know. We want to keep people aware that we're having them, and they are advertised ahead of time that we are conducting a checkpoint in Hamilton County on such and such date, and please be aware of that. So then we spin into our second part of the other traffic safety grants, and we talked a little bit about that, the seatbelt enforcement. We have one currently that's in right now for school bus enforcement, for people not stopping for the school bus that are loading or unloading children. Heavy fines for that, strict enforcement for that as well, obviously for the safety of our children that are getting off those buses.
Yeah, and we'll dig into that just a little, the buses, because sometimes people get confused and they ask the question a lot of, when do I have to stop or when do I not have to stop? And there are certain things that require you to stop by law. You have to. But what I always tell people is, if you're not sure, then stop.
Right.
If you're not sure,
right,
what's happening?
Exactly.
You see the yellow flashing lights, the red flashing lights. You don't know what this bus is about to do.
Correct.
Don't speed up and think, I got to get around it.
Right. Don't beat it. It's the same with the red light. If it turns yellow, don't try to gun it to make it through, because you don't know what's coming on the other side.
But the law says if you are in the same direction as the bus and the stop arm's out, you can't pass it.
Correct.
If you're in the opposite direction and there's no physical divider, you have to stop.
Correct.
If you happen to be on a multi-lane road where there is an actual physical divider, not a turn lane, but a curb, a grass median, a wall, then if you're going the opposite direction, you don't have to stop. But if you're going the same direction, you still have to stop.
Correct. And that's where I think some of that confusion comes. If you're going that opposite direction, is what constitutes that barrier? It could be a curb, could be a glass median, or it could be a barrier wall of some sort.
Yeah.
A raised sidewalk, and that's what that awareness is. But again, it goes into that part where if you're not sure, make that conscientious effort.
Yeah, and it just comes down to just being safe for the kids. These schools I've talked to several bus transportation directors, and they design their routes so that kids don't have to cross those 4-lane busy roads.
That's correct. Yep,
I've heard
the same.
But they still are required to drive on them, stop on them. And
Absolutely,
like that.
absolutely.
Yeah, and so again, when we talk about traffic safety, oftentimes people think, well, you're only writing tickets to generate revenue, and it actually can't be less true.
It is completely untrue.
It doesn't generate revenue for us.
Correct. Correct.
But what it does is we often see the tragic aftermath of these crashes. We're the ones that have to knock on your family member's door and tell them.
Hardest part of the job, hands down.
Without question. That's why we write the tickets. When we catch somebody driving 100 miles an hour, 120 miles an hour, we don't get excited about it or happy about it. It breaks our heart.
Correct. Yeah, because the tragic outcome could be the ripple effect, I will use, can be so dramatic in an event like that. You don't stop for the school bus. You strike a child. Not only is the child's life impacted, your life is impacted. Then their families are impacted. And that could go on for years.
Yeah.
It's the same thing if you're stopped for driving in excess of 100 miles an hour. If you crash and you get injured or you're killed, that's a ripple effect for your family. That's a ripple effect for your friends and how they're affected by it. And then
community. And even the first responders, we're not robots.
Correct.
We remember.
Correct.
I can remember almost every fatal crash I've ever gone to, and for sure can remember every death notification I've ever done.
Yeah, and like I said, that's the ultimate hardest part for me. The hardest part of the job is knocking on that door, making those contacts, and just and it gets emotional. It's very emotional. It's not only emotional for the family; it's emotional for us, especially. I deal with that emotionally, and you have to do your best to help the families in that tragic moment.
And that's why we write tickets. If I could go out and write everybody a warning, I'd be happy to. But we know that's not effective, because if people know they're only going to get a warning and there's not going to be a monetary fine,
correct,
they're not going to change their driving behavior.
That's true.
And so often, and here's what people always ask: well, how do I get a warning? Well, I'll tell people my decision for warning or ticket is based on three things. It's a 60-20-20. 60% of my decision is based on what the actual violation was, how fast you were going, red light, whatever it may be. 20% is based on your attitude, how you treat me, how we interact, and 20% is based on your driving record. Have you gotten 15 tickets in the last 10 years? If so, obviously these tickets aren't doing any good.
Right.
So that's how. But be kind, be honest, and that's your best chance.
Yeah. If you have accountability.
Yes.
Accountability, and say, trooper, I'm running late. I was pushing it. I have no excuse. My kid's screaming in the background. I was running late. I get that. And we understand life in general. Right. And again, if you take those other considerations in, does it come into play? Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. But, again, for me, it's never been about going out and seeing how many tickets I can write. It's about how many crashes can I prevent.
Absolutely.
And the sad thing is there's no way to quantitate that. We can't tell you that we prevented 2,000 crashes last year.
Correct.
There's no way to know.
Right. It's not. That's the number. We'd like to know what those reduction numbers are, but we'll just never know.
I'll tell you one thing that I love to see, and I think it's funny because they think I don't see it, is when you're sitting at an intersection and all of a sudden somebody's shoulder suddenly itches, and then you see that seatbelt slowly coming on.
Correct.
Because I'm there.
You're
but
right.
You know what? That's what I'm voluntary compliance.
Right.
You saw me. You made yourself safer because of it.
Right.
I didn't have to stop you and tell you.
It's the same thing with that cell phone.
Yeah.
They put that cell phone down, they drop it, and they stop that conversation. Yeah. And people get confused, or maybe not confused, or unaware, or that, as for me specifically, working enforcement and being out on the road, my head is always on a swivel. I'm always looking around at the cars that are coming up behind me, next to me, approaching me. I'm always looking. So if just because, you make, well, when I saw you, trooper, well, it's not when you saw me, it's when I saw you, and I saw you way ahead of the time.
Well, and a lot of times, a lot of the lasers we're using now will reach out over half a mile to almost a mile.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
We're pinpoint radaring these folks well before they see us.
Absolutely. And we try to explain that to them, and sometimes they get it and sometimes they don't. Not only part of our job is enforcement, but part of our job is to educate. Yeah. And if we can educate the motoring public about these driving behaviors that we're seeing and observing and getting those to comply, that's another win.
And again, if me sitting in the median running radar slows you down, that's mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
It's not, I only got 6 tickets today. It's,
correct.
Hey, there was 6,000 people that passed me that weren't speeding.
Right.
Or recklessly speeding. You know?
And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the majority just to follow that. Slow down, pay attention, don't rush, drive smart. Yeah.
So Senior Trooper Clint Cameron came in today, and we're talking about the Hamilton County Traffic Partnership, this traffic safety partnership, and just kind of what goes into that, but also just kind of general enforcement efforts and what our goals are. But another thing, and we only have about a minute here, but the traffic safety partnership takes a big role in education. They put out a lot of information about how to save lives, who to contact if there's an emergency, just valuable resources.
Correct. Yep. And every agency has a representative on the traffic partnership. So it's just not me being I just represent the state police here in the Annapolis district, but every agency that I participate has an officer. If somebody needs the partnership as a resource, is there a website or some way they can get a hold of the partnership? It would probably be under the Hamilton County Council on Alcohol and Other Drugs, because that grant is attached to the overall part of that. But they have a website and a Facebook page and social media. And so Monica Greer's the director of that. Correct. And she's a great resource for so many things safety, not just traffic safety, but I see her putting out information daily. All the time. Deals with alcohol and drugs. Yeah. So again, thank you to Senior Trooper Clint Cameron for coming in and talking about the traffic safety partnership and general traffic safety. Again, our goal is so people don't get hurt, people don't get killed. It's not a tally mark for us when we write a ticket or stop a car. It's an effort to change driving behavior. That's it. And we don't want to have to investigate the crash and talk to somebody's family because they're seriously hurt or killed. Correct.
So thank you to our sponsor, the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary of State Police Alliance. Certainly appreciate them. Thank you for tuning in to the Road Show. If you're watching us on YouTube, check out some of the historic shows. They go way back, all the way back to when Rich Myers was the host. And we will talk to everybody next time. Be safe.